Hello, everyone. Let's talk just a little bit about the essay assignments for this course. Remember, most of your grade will depend upon the quality of your essays. So it's really, very important work for the course. I just wanted to look a little bit at the assignments so we're clear about what the assignment is and what I'm expecting or what my standards are. Um, they're definite assignments for the essay, and in writing them, you should really make sure that you understand what the assignment is. And if you don't, let me know. It's always good to contact your teachers for clarification about anything you have. If you feel like you need something to be better explained, then go ahead and ask. Please do call me or email me, and I'd be happy to to elaborate on what I meant. Um, I think three of the four assignments you have a choice. I think the assignment for the third module on Plato and Landsberg, there's just one possible topic, one question to address, and the rest of them you have to choose one, and that's important, right? This is a 500-word essay, which is a short essay. So there's no time to address both of these questions. There's not enough space. You have to choose one. Okay. But let's just, for example, look at these questions, and let me just elaborate a little bit on them. Number one asks about Nagel and Epicurus, Nagel's essay Death and Epicurus's letter to Menoicus in the first module. Did Nagel refute Epicurus's claim that death cannot ever be considered a bad thing, a misfortune, an evil for the one who dies? Why or why not? Okay. So what would you need to do or know or be sure about or feel you had a firm grasp of in order to write a good essay in response to this question? Well, you would have to grasp Epicurus's theory of death, and you would have to have a notion of why, of course, he believes that death can't be considered a bad thing for the person who dies. And you'd have a firm grasp of what Nagel's argument was against that. Um, that is, you would have to feel pretty strongly that you understood what reasons Nagel gave for thinking that Epicurus was wrong about that. And the why or why not is, okay, yes or no. Did he refute Epicurus? And of course, you'd have to supply your reasons, right? That is, in presenting Nagel's case, you would then have to critique it and say, well, why do you think it's a good case, or why do you think that he fails? It can't just be, yes, I think he did refute the claim, or no, I didn't. You have to sort of explain why. That's what the why or why not is. It's asking for reasons. The second one, did Bruckner and Fisher in their essay, Why is Death Bad? Did they solve the asymmetry problem? Why or why not? First thing, to write a good response to that, you have to know what the asymmetry problem is. You simply have to know that. And in the essay, you would have to give a brief account of what the asymmetry problem was and really what it would mean to solve it in general. And of course, it asks about their solution. So you have to have a notion of how they seek to solve the asymmetry problem. And again, to give some reasons in the essay why you think it's an actual solution or why you think the solution fails. So this is just an example of, I think, what obviously you want to understand everything you can in the readings as much as possible. And you want to, watch the videos, do the readings. If you have questions about the readings, if you first of all, watch the videos. I've pretty much given everything that I have in terms of my explanation of these texts or my interpretation or my hints about reading them in those videos. But if there's still something that is unclear to you after doing the readings, and repeatedly studying the readings and watching the videos, if there's still something that's so unclear to you, you have, I would, please ask me. But if you ask me questions, don't, ask me specific questions that show that you've done some work, because otherwise I'll just repeat what I said in the videos, and it really will be a waste of both of our time. So if you find that you don't feel like you know enough to write an essay, feel free to contact me again with specific focused questions, and I'd be happy to, to do what I can to help you get in a better position to write those essays. Here's a second module essay assignment, also a choice. Again, all these essays are about 500 words. That's about 2 type pages. So your essays really have to be focused, right? They really have to be dense. They have to be, to the point. And really, they have to respond to the questions asked, right? Number 1, about the Jonas, burden and blessing of mortality essay, that is critically assess, evaluate Jonas's reasons for thinking that mortality is a blessing. He thinks it's a burden too, but I'm asking you to focus on the blessing part, which means you have to focus on that part of the essay, and that you have to pay close attention, not just to the fact that he says that mortality is a blessing, but why, right? Do you find his claim convincing? Why or why not? Again, you have to provide reasons, right? That is, you have to understand what his argument is, or what his different reasons are for saying that mortality, in the sense of, as you'll see, that we eventually do die, or that death is inevitable, that's a blessing. You have to really understand his reasons, and you have to refer to his reasoning. It can't just be sort of a general feeling of agreement or disagreement, or liking or disliking. It has to be, focused on his actual reasoning, his arguments. Do you find his claim convincing? Why or why not? So yeah, you have to understand why Jonas thought that mortality, in that one sense of the inevitability of death, is actually a good thing, a blessing, and give reasons for why you agree or disagree, or why you find his argument convincing or unconvincing. Number 2 is about the Glenn Gray essay, The Idea of Death and Existentialism. Existentialism claims that personal consciousness of death, that is, an awareness, an intense awareness of one's own mortality, that one's own death, personal death, is an inevitability, that this consciousness is necessary to, quote, live in truth. Why? I mean, that is, what reasons do the existentialists, as relayed by Gray, give for that claim that such a consciousness is necessary to live in truth? So it would take some explanation of what living in the truth actually means, or what it's purported to mean. And then, why? Or that is, why do they make that claim? And then, do you agree? Do you agree that this consciousness of death is necessary to live a truthful, authentic life? Why or why not? So it's asking you to do some evaluation. Module 3 essay, this is the hardest part of the course, on Plato and Landsberg, the longest things that we'll read. There's only one, and that is basically asking you to make a choice. That both Plato and Landsberg make a case for immortality, for life after death, unlike Epicurus. Who makes the better case? Whose approach to it do you find more convincing, or more congenial, or harmonizes better with what you consider to be the truth? Or who makes the stronger case? Because they have very different ways of doing it, Plato or Landsberg. So that's a big topic for a 500-word essay, I know. So you're going to have to generalize, no doubt. but it really is a way of testing your grasp of the basic approach of Plato and Landsberg. So you would have to have a notion of both of their basic approaches, right? Plato has a certain way of approaching the question. Plato has a certain way of conceiving of death and immortality, and Landsberg's is different. Basically, as asking you which one you prefer. But again, it's not like just a general like or dislike, or I went to this type of school, or I had this background, so I like him and I don't like him. No, it's about reasoning. It's about making a rational case. It's about a critical evaluation. So really basically choosing one over the other and giving good reasons for why. And then the last section, or module 4 essay about Hartshorne and Jonas. Again, you have a choice. Number 1, assess Jonas is a different essay by Jonas, Immortality and the Modern Temper. Assess Jonas's reasonings for finding an opening for immortality in moral experience. Do you find his idea convincing? Why or why not? Now, of course, you need to read the essay before you really understand that question. But it does ask you about a key point in his argument for his idea of some form of, not personal immortality, but some form of eternal being, and that he finds the basis for this in our ordinary experience in making moral decisions. So you really need to explain that idea, and then to, again, critically evaluate that. And that should sound familiar by now, right? A lot of critical evaluation going on in these essays. Number 2, assess, right? And assess means subject to analysis. Subject to critical analysis. Hartshorne's idea that death is, quote, the last page of the last chapter of the book of one's life, which is pretty much his definition of death. Does he present good reasons for thinking of death in this way? Why or why not? And that really means you have to focus on what leads up to that statement. A few pages into the essay, and why he thinks, basically why he thinks that that's the best characterization of what death is, and again, assessing that to critical analysis. So I hope that helped. That's pretty much what I had in mind for these essays. And again, the essays are a way for you to show what you know. The essays are a way for you to demonstrate your grasp of the text, but you're not just repeating what's said in the text. Of course, you have to give an account in your essay of the major points that are referred to in the questions. But what you're really doing is, in each case, is assessing what you've read, subjecting it to critical analysis, coming to some conclusion, basically, whether you find the arguments referred to convincing. So I hope that helped. If you have any questions about the essay assignment in general, or you have any questions about the particulars of any essay question, please let me know, and be happy to try to clarify this.